The fate of human civilization now rested on Pierce's shoulders. He would teach the aliens to never touch humanity again. Commander Nathan Pierce overlooked the elite warriors aboard Dauntless. Intelligence confirmed the alien Gennari targeted Earth's resources and the planet's population for enslavement. Diplomacy failed. Invasion imminent. Pierce readied his soldiers with energy weapons and neural disruptors for inflicting massive enemy casualties. Humanity teetered on the brink. Failure ensured extermination or enslavement of the human race at the hands of the vast Gennari war machine. Time was short. Pierce recalled prior hostile encounters as a cold dread crept into his chest. Could he prepare his forces in time? Humanity's survival now depended on it. The Gennari ships cut across space as they got closer. They reminded Commander Nathan Pierce time had run out to get ready. He stood at the helm of the Dauntless, fierce determination in his eyes. Behind him, Earth's defending fleet fell into place. Each ship showed the hurried work done to equip them with the best human tech. The empty space near the moon turned into a chaotic battlefield as the first Gennari ships came in range. Lasers sliced through the vacuum, carving metal hulls. Human ships dodged and weaved unpredictably. Their pilots flew in ways that turned the first fights into surprise wins. But each triumph came with the bitter loss of friends. Their ships exploded silently, stars put out too early. Amid the chaos, the Dauntless's comms officer called Pierce, voice frantic. "Commander, we intercepted a Gennari message. They think we'll be easy to beat." Pierce's jaw clenched as he took in the news. His determination hardened. Let's show them they're wrong. The battle got worse as the Gennari revealed a weapon. It shot energy pulses meant to cripple human ships. The Dauntless shuddered, lights flickering. The crew plunged into semi-darkness. Around them, ships died, sitting still for the Gennari attack. "Engineering report," Pierce's voice boomed over comms. "Working on it, Commander," a rushed voice responded. The sound of clanging tools and urgent orders came through. In moments that felt too long, power returned. Systems rebooted. The Dauntless surged back to life. Engineers on board cheered. Pierce didn't waste a second. "Target that weapon, full barrage now." His orders were swift and exact. The Dauntless attacked under his command. A blast destroyed the Gennari weapon, leaving it a tangle of metal and sparks. Freed from paralysis, humanity's fleet bore down on the Gennari fiercely. Ships spiraled through space, energy weapons cutting enemy armor as pilots pushed past exhaustion and fear. The Gennari, surprised by the humans' determination, lost numbers. Pierce seized the chance. He led a team to storm a crippled Gennari destroyer. The metallic stench of burnt circuits filled the air. They fought corridor to corridor until they got the ship's data core. Human fighters protected the Dauntless as it limped back to Earth with the remains of the fleet. Pierce held the data core. Its secrets offered new tactics and hope. Back at Earth, alone in his quarters, Pierce stood with the Gennari intel displayed. It clearly showed the enemy's weaknesses. "We'll be ready," he said, confident. "Humanity won't just make it, we'll win." In the dim light on the command deck, Commander Nathan Pierce broke the alien encryption. He saw they planned to land in Earth cities. New York flashed red, the aliens' first target. Pierce didn't celebrate beating them in space. Jaw clenched, he gave orders to the fleet. The ship Dauntless shook, hitting Earth's atmosphere. From the bridge, Pierce saw New York below, steel, smoke, and streets ready for war. The aliens wanted this city. Earth would make it their graveyard. Dropships spilled from Dauntless, sending elite troops to Manhattan's concrete. Boots on the ground, Pierce saw alien pods land among skyscrapers. The aliens poured out, their shells clicking on asphalt. Pierce clicked his comm. "Alpha Bravo, hit them and vanish. Don't try to hold ground, just hit hard." Voices crackled back. "Copy, Commander." The neural disruptor was new, untested until now. It looked like a normal gun, but its effects were different. Pierce's men fired it, and the aliens staggered, coordination shot. Humans seized the seconds to strike. The streets became chaotic. Soldiers appeared, then disappeared after hitting the slowed aliens. The aliens, struggling to adapt, fired at shadows. Pierce moved with purpose toward the UN building. flag waving though the city was under assault. His team stacked at the building corner, tools ready. They breached, clearing room by room, firing controlled bursts. The aliens inside were tough, but the humans knew their home. In a fallen conference room, they found a struggling alien, its armor corroded. Earth's microbes had seeped in. Pierce swabbed a sample. Dauntless, analyze this now. The aliens' UN mission failed. Room by room, the humans pushed them out, a signal to New York. Key positions fell next, humans exploiting their new edge. The aliens were vulnerable after all. In the conquered command center, skyline wounded but defiant, Pierce breathed the air of a city not broken. "This is just the start," he muttered. "We won't just survive. We'll win." The news spread fast. Every TV and radio showed humanity fighting back against the aliens. People around the world watched the footage of Earth's ships attacking the enemy fleet. It gave them hope. But the aliens changed their plan. Their huge dreadnought hovered above Earth. The cold eyes of General Krax stared from the screens. His commands came in waves. His cannons blasted through Earth's defenses. Pierce and his crew on the Dauntless felt each hit. He watched his friends die under the alien guns. His heart ached, but he stayed strong. Even with fear on the bridge, Pierce spoke firmly, "Hold the line. Remember what we fight for." His words brought the crew together. The Dauntless dove back into battle, dodging beams that could crack moons. On Earth, the soldiers stood firm, inspired by Pierce's courage. A new plan took shape. The Dauntless and allies swarmed the enemy supply lines. Ships danced and dodged in the chaos. The battle was brutal. Each lost ship burned into their minds. But they broke the enemy formations. 1, 2, 3 alien ships exploded under their guns. Cut off from supplies, the alien ground forces faltered. Their push slowed without support. Pierce studied the enemy plans. He saw their march through the ruins of New York. Every available soldier gathered among the crumbling city. They stood with weapons ready to make history. They traded nods beneath broken skyscrapers. This city would not fall. "They'll hit hard and fast," Pierce said over comms, "but this is our ground. We'll hit them harder." Engineers rigged the bridges with bombs. Snipers took position in rubble. They waited, quiet as the dead. At Pierce's signal, troops fired disruptors, scattering the enemy ranks. The aliens stumbled with each step, shooting at ghosts. Above, Earth's pilots prepared the final blow to ground the aliens forever. Pierce synchronized space and ground forces for a combined strike. Krax's forces struggled through the streets. Human fighters emerged from the dust and overwhelmed them. In the ruined city center, Pierce stood victorious among his troops. He looked to the sky. "This is just the start," he said, "ready for the next wave." And humanity answered with resilience. "We won't just survive. We'll win." Krax towered over his elite Ginari soldiers. He nodded, and they charged into a trap. Explosions erupted as mines blew up under their feet, shredding metal and chitin. The blasts sent shockwaves that ripped through the enemy lines. Human ground forces emerged with fury in their eyes and weapons in hand. They fired neural disruptors that sent waves of convulsing Ginari soldiers to the ground. Synaptic pathways fried. Nathan Pierce watched from a hastily built command post. Maps glowed around him. "Now!" he shouted into the radio. His soldiers pushed forward, cutting through the stunned Ginari with relentless force. Every human footstep on the shattered ground meant doom for the invaders. Pierce led a squad through debris towards a Ginari command tent. They blew open the entrance with breaching charges, flooding inside. Fingers flew across alien consoles as they accessed comm channels, Pierce inputting false orders that sent the Ginari into chaos. In space, sleek-scarred ships fired lasers and energy at Krax's looming dreadnought. Pilots maneuvered through debris, sweat on their heads. Their resolve turned fear into lethal focus. Krax realized the battle turned against him. Snarling, he led a final, desperate charge to New York's heart, but the humans were ahead. As his shuttle descended, anti-aircraft fire ensnared it, crashing it downtown. Pierce watched Krax stumble from the wreckage, soldiers in disarray. Nathan signaled and troops sprang from hiding, weapons aimed at the Ginari. The firefight was fierce and short. Soon Cracks stood in chains, head bowed in defeat. Nathan accessed their comms, uniform torn and dusty. To those still against us, he spoke with resilient human weight, "No, we will never yield. Earth is our home. We will defend it to our last breath." News of Cracks' capture drained alien morale. As they faltered, humans advanced, reclaiming tarnished ground. Every street and building retaken marked a step towards impossible victory. In the ruins of a former battlefield, Pierce stood among soldiers, eyes alight with unbreakable human spirit. Commander Nathan Pierce stared at the chained form of General Cracks. The alien's antennae twitched with defiance and shock under the harsh light of the interrogation room. A cold metal table stood between them. The guards were gone. They were in human territory now. Pierce had questions. "Your soldiers follow a code, right?" Pierce leaned in, eyes locked on Cracks. The alien snorted. "Honor is everything." Pierce nodded slowly. "Honor keeps them in line?" "Without it, only chaos," Cracks said with pride. Pierce turned and spoke into his comm. "Announce everywhere, we have Cracks." Signals spread the news. Cracks looked uncertain for the first time. Outside, the message played loudly. Ginari soldiers froze. Human fighters attacked the confused enemy. Morale sank. Small groups of aliens pulled back, fragmenting. Pierce led his squad through debris-filled streets, boarding a captured alien ship. The crew moved fast, repurposing the vessel. Sensors locked onto the half-built warp gate above Earth. More aliens coming through meant bad news. It had to go. Engines firing, they reached the gate. Cloaked, they walked out in suits, magnetic boots on the gate's metal frame. Tools buzzed in hand. Silent nods of understanding passed between them. Explosives set, they retreated. At Pierce's nod, the skeleton exploded in the void. Fragments scattered, stopping the threat. Below, scared citizens now fought fiercely. Homemade weapons joined military efforts, dancing together in resistance. Their determination matched the soldiers. They all had something to defend. From his vantage point, Pierce saw a neighborhood force invaders to retreat just as fierce as the professionals. Talk started as the tide turned. Cracks sat relaxed on a secure video link. Pierce's voice followed, strong and clear. "We have your leader, but this can end. Return our people and we'll treat Cracks humanely." Stern but fair terms proposed an exchange. Their prisoners for good treatment of Cracks. Cornered by human tenacity and respect for their general, the aliens started giving in. Ships landed, trading human prisoners for peace. Weapons fell silent across battered cities. After Cracks' soldiers approached unarmed, hands raised, the image spread showing the mercy of the underestimated humans. Pierce surveyed the damaged skyscrapers and exhausted, relieved faces. Rebuilding lay ahead, but today they had shown the galaxy the human spirit. "This is just the start," he whispered, "but it's a good one." Nathan was in the neutral room, big empty steel box halfway between Earth and the Ginari. His boots stuck tight to the floor. He floated, but the magnets kept his feet down. The air was clean, no smell. Just like the walls. They hummed. Life support in the box made them go hum-hum. The Empress was in the room with Nathan. Her shell shone under the bright lights. Her council stood around her, still like stone statues, black stone statues. Their eyes looked at Nathan. He couldn't tell what they thought. Their faces didn't move. Nathan looked right back. He beat their best on Earth. This was just another fight. "The Ginari leave Earth," he said, clear and even. "No conditions, no tricks. You help fix what you broke." The Empress shifted. Her shoulder shell scraped soft. "Humans fought with honor," she said, hiss, hiss, "but we can't leave with nothing." "You can take General Cracks," Nathan said back. "That's it, the rest stays." The council looked around, clicked and talked in their hard language. The Empress bowed her head. That meant respect to them. "We accept," she said soft. "Cracks means much to us." Nathan nodded sharp. Done. They left the room, less proud than before. On Earth, Nathan saw the crowd. Sun going down made long shadows. Faces showed anger and relief. Ships hummed behind, ready for the Ginari to go. Voices shouted from the people. "Why let them go? one yelled. "Make them pay!" another cried. Nathan raised his hands up, asked for quiet. His clothes wore the fight stains, but he stood tall. "Revenge won't build our future," he said loud. "We get to rebuild. Prepare. We fought to survive, not kill them all." The crowd talked soft. His words took root. Nathan looked past them, at the broke skyline, at the ships leaving with the Ginari. "This is the start," he said. "A good one." The humans went away, some still mad, but most thought about his words. As the Ginari ships left in the dusk, their fire lit the sky. Earth looked inside now. Fighting was done. Now they'd heal and build. Together. Commander Nathan Pierce stood stiff at the main console of the Dauntless. Red and blue flickered across the screen. The Ginari fleet was in chaos. His team talked fast, breaking down their alien signals. "The Empress is in trouble," a man said, eyes locked on the screen. "Radicals are moving against her. It's a coup." Pierce felt cold and hard inside. If the Radicals took over, Earth would face more danger. He had to act now, decisively, quickly. No hesitation. "Get Alpha Team ready. We move in 10, Pierce said. His voice cut through the room's tension. Minutes later, Alpha Team gathered in the hangar in dark suits. Soldiers turned to blades by hard experience. No extra weight, just weapons, air tanks, and resolve. Pierce checked his gear. His movements were mechanical and sure. Rescue mission, disable only. No deaths, we don't need. The soldiers nodded, faces hidden. A fast, surgical strike, not a battle. Get in, hit the flagship's control room, get out. Their shuttle slipped free of the Dauntless, a predator stalking through the dark. It closed in on the wounded flagship, scarred by inner fighting. The enemy hangar yawned open, a crack in its armor. The human soldiers stormed the hangar, boots holding them to the deck. They spread out, disruptors ready. The Ginari were strong but confused, easy targets for Pierce's focused team. Room by room they advanced. Shots were precise, targeted. Few Ginari fought back, tricked by the suit's friendly markings. A deceit planned by Pierce. Lies can be weapons too. The control room lay ahead. 2 soldiers set breaching charges. No countdown needed. Pierce's nod was the signal. The door blew inwards. Chaos followed. Inside, radical Ginari froze mid-command. Pierce's team didn't waste time with words. The disruptors ended the coup in a blur of control. A quick tap at the controls, and Pierce cut the flagship adrift, now harmless. The coup died without its head. The Empress hissed relief into the comm. "Your debt is honored, Nathan Pierce of Earth." Back on Earth, the Ginari fleet blinked out, drives lighting up the sky one last time. Silence fell, filled by a tired planet's exhale. The storm had passed. Pierce returned to the rebuilding world, mind always working. Amid repair and recovery, he spoke with leaders. His advice was clear, his plans detailed. "We get stronger, we look ahead, we adapt, we prepare," he told them. His words carried weight. And as Earth healed, Pierce met with alien envoys. In hushed rooms they spoke of unity, of strength, of a shared future, a coalition sparked by humanity's resilience. Pierce watched closely, stern. Earth had shone bright in the dark galaxy. More would come. But humanity stood ready, not for war, but for defiant survival. After the war, Earth changed fast. Broken cities and scarred lands healed. Workers cleared rubble. They made streets where craters had been and foundations where aliens had landed. Everywhere, workers scrapped Ginari ships to the bones. Scientists studied each wire and panel. They learned and adapted. Earth's tech surged ahead. Commander Nathan Pierce oversaw the rebuilding. In New York, steel rose into the sky again. Machines bolted turrets to rooftops. Shields flickered over them during tests. The skyscrapers were forts now, sentries against threats from space. In dry dock, the Dauntless lay open like a patient on an operating table. Engineers worked in its guts. They installed Ginari engines, sleek and powerful. Alien turrets replaced the old gun mounts on deck. The crew learned controls that responded to thoughts. Command promoted Nathan to Admiral. Everyone took notice. Vid screens and billboards showed his face, once dirt-smudged but now heroic. He embodied Earth's fight. His voice filled the airwaves, steady and firm. "We need to keep our edge," Admiral Pierce told recruits. "Master these alien systems. Use them as our armor." But some resisted change. A politician pounded the table during a meeting. "Close our borders," he shouted. "Keep Earth human only." Nathan listened, quiet but resolute. "We can't fear the galaxy," Nathan said. "Our destiny is among the stars, united." The shooting happened during a speech. A crack split the air. Panic erupted. Security tackled the shooter as he screamed purity rants. "Terra firma," they called themselves. Nathan's ear rang, but he stood firm. Medics rushed over. Nathan turned to the crowd. His voice cut through the chaos. "Together we are strong," he declared. "Our unity is strength." Later, Nathan walked among rising towers. He touched a cold turret. His eyes rose to the open sky. "Just the beginning," he whispered. "A good one." Black smoke rose up in columns against the sky outside the wrecked facility. Sirens wailed loud, chaos all over. Admiral Pierce looked at the mess with cold, focused eyes. His gaze landed on the burnt ruins where the aliens worked. Terra firma torched it all. They hated aliens that much. Pierce turned back to the jeep. His security chief waited there, face like stone. "Find them," he told her. The jeep kicked up red dirt, speeding off. Days passed. Pierce's spies dug hard for clues. The bites became places. The outback, so empty, hid their base well. Pierce's team wouldn't fail him. He knew it in his gut. When the sun set over the desert, the choppers flew in silent. Pierce strapped into one with his hand-picked team. No words needed. They knew the job. Boots hit the dirt fast. The guards dropped from stun blasts. Controlled, efficient, classic Pierce. They blew the door and went in fast. Cool air inside, so different than the heat. Lights flickered on as they moved through, guns ready. Room by room, they swept it all. A small office held what Pierce wanted. Fleet plans, files, call logs. The guts of terra firma laid bare. They were deep inside, a tumor waiting to spread. The control room glowed with dots, agents everywhere ready to strike. Pierce clenched his jaw tight. Now they had the names. The threat would die here. Deep inside, they found the leaders, holed up desperate in a bunker that stank like fear. Pierce towered over them. They knew they'd lost. Weeks later, Pierce spoke at the UN, voices hushed. "We've beat outsiders before," he said loud in the chamber, "but the enemy within needs our eyes on them." Delegates from the world over listened close as Pierce laid it all out. The need for checks, for being alert as one planet. His call rang out, an echo of the war beyond Earth. "Our strength is our bond to each other," he went on, "to the future together." Applause roared loud like thunder. Pierce stood firm, a beacon through the storm. His action cemented Earth's next chapter. As the talks of unity began, Pierce listened wary but hopeful. In the dance between ideals, he would keep Earth vigilant, united. And so the Admiral built peace, feared by foes, revered by friends. He'd kept Earth safe before. Now he would secure its future. Rubble still filled the streets. Workers climbed over buildings fallen to rubble. Their machines ground without stopping. The air smelled dusty and sharp. Alien ships slid quietly across the sky. They landed smoothly on the damaged airfield. Admiral Nathan Pierce watched from his temporary command center. It stood among crumbled defenses. He tracked the alien ships as they arrived. The lead ship's door opened with a hiss. 3 aliens stepped into the light. They walked toward Pierce. His team led them over. Pierce had his hands behind his back. "We have seen Earth's strength," one alien said in musical tones. "The Perseus Pact would benefit from such power." Pierce studied their faces. He saw they were sincere. They spoke of a new threat, the Vorid. Vorids consumed whole civilizations. The Pact needed allies. Earth could join them. Inside the dim council room, Pierce faced Earth's leaders. A Vorid hologram spun over the table. "This is not a lie," Pierce said. He put his palms flat on the cool table. Together with the Pact, we are stronger. The leaders whispered. They were skeptical. Reaching into space again scared them. If we stay alone, Pierce went on, we risk everything, again. The leaders shared looks of doubt and necessity. They nodded, some firmly, some not. Days later, Nathan Pierce stood in the Pact Council chamber. It was a huge dome with many voices. The seats held Pact representatives. They measured Earth's envoy. We faced total destruction, Pierce said. His voice echoed the walls. But we survived. Earth wants to stand with you against all threats. Pierce told how humans showed courage against the Ginari attack, how they defended more than just Earth, the values they shared with the Pact. Noises of agreement filled the chamber in many languages. Hands, tentacles, and strange limbs waved approval. Earth would join the Perseus Pact. Back home, crowds lined the streets to welcome Nathan Pierce. Their cheers lifted his spirit. They held grateful signs. Their faces showed hope for this new age. At the celebration's heart stood Pierce. He looked to the horizon where Earth's future now stretched among the stars. He whispered to himself, "This is just the start." A motto for the new era. The war room buzzed. Admiral Nathan Pierce leaned on the console. Red dots glowed where the Vorid conquered. His people studied data about attacks. The details were unflinching. "Can't repeat history," Pierce said. His fingers tapped a pattern. "Make a task force. Analyze everything. I want plans." "Yes, sir," a lieutenant said. Her hands flew, sending orders. Weeks passed, then months. Soldiers trained with aliens. Dust rose as they marched. Commands cut through languages. They found rhythm. Pierce watched. A tall Jornian showed grappling. Humans copied. They nodded, learning. They shared rations after. Despite looks, they bonded. The Ginari Empress arrived. Her black ship glided down. The hatch opened. Empress and guards emerged. First time on Earth. At the ceremony, Pierce stood by her side. Cameras flashed. She gave a slim case. It clicked open. The energy shield hummed inside. The crowd gasped. History made. Pierce signed the treaty. Protests shouted, but cheers won. Back at the war room, engineers saw the device. Voices hummed with excitement. They tested shields on attacking phantom fleets. The shield pulsed. Ships disintegrated. Cheering broke out. Pierce spoke on screens worldwide. He pushed the future, exploring, not conquering. Crowds listened to his plain words. "Earth is home," he said. He pointed to a star map. "We'll reach out, plant flags, say we're here, we're ready, we'll stand together." People nodded, eyes to the sky. Silent stars now held promise. Providence sprawled on rocky land on a faraway world. Domes and towers built by Earth showed people's strength and skill. Scientists and engineers worked together, sharing minds for progress. Soldiers walked the metal paths, boots loud in the quiet. The colony buzzed with humans at work. Nathan watched the energy shield around Providence hum. The Ginari technology protected the Alliance. He had journeyed far from New York's battered streets. This was the new frontier for humans in space. Alerts flashed colors on the big screen. A packed planet needed help. Nathan's fingers darted on the controls, responding fast. His team ran, boots heavy, voices urgent. Deadly sleek ships left dock, engines firing. They set course through the starry black. Space folded around them. The jump was quick. Chaos met them as they arrived. Cities burned below on the packed planet. Ships battled above, trails streaking the sky. Vorids swarmed, relentless. Waves of ships and pulsing bioweapons hammered defenders. Nathan's eyes narrowed. His voice steeled in velvet, he commanded, "Engage." The fleet surged forward tight. Tentacled allies lined up by human ships, eyes wide with relief. Lasers met living hulls, fire against flesh. Nathan's fleet cut through the Vorids like scalpels. Ship after ship burst apart, spilling into the void. Energy lit the nothingness. Soundless explosions filled visors and screens. With a final push, they broke the Vorid line. The retreating enemy fled in chaos. Cheers exploded in the fleet. The planet celebrated below. Vorids vanished into cold space. They had won. Nathan's voice anchored them. Secure the area, check their losses, check for survivors. We're not done.
Among wreckage, Nathan floated. Puffs moved him toward a dead Vorid ship, surface shiny and wriggling. Tools in hand, he pried free an undamaged part. "Dauntless, we've got something," he transmitted, breaths whispering in his helmet.
Back on Providence, scientists and engineers swarmed the Vorid tech. It squirmed in their grips, alive but controlled. Nathan oversaw every test and analysis. It healed itself, changed itself, a metaphor for humanity. His orders were clear. Learn from it, adapt it, make their strength ours. Respect for Nathan grew on Providence. Offers of alliance poured in. Nathan weighed each with care. Providence was the future. Earth would meet it head-on. The door to the command center opened and Admiral Nathan Pierce walked in. The leaders from different worlds sat waiting, their posture showing respect. Word of Pierce's rescue mission had spread. These leaders wanted him to command their militaries. "Admiral Pierce," said the leader, "your actions prove your worth. We want you to lead us." Pierce nodded. "I'll do what's needed." No fancy words. He would let his actions speak. He went to different worlds, training alien troops on dusty fields. Short, tall, feathered, scaled. He taught them all. They shared strategies across the galaxy. The Academy stood proud on Providence. Within its steel walls, languages blended into marching rhythm. Pierce's team fused tech and tactics into firm defense. During a mock battle, a space-time ripple hit. Ships spiraled, alarms blared, orders shouted but too late. Bodies floated in wreckage. Cadets from many worlds dead, future leaders gone. The tragedy could unravel their hard work. Leaders arrived, pained and angry. Pierce met them head-on, sorrow in his eyes. "I take full responsibility," he said steady. "We offer condolences and reparations to the families." His words met murmurs, some mad, some accepting. His presence at the memorial spoke louder. He said each lost name, a solemn promise. His honesty planted seeds of deeper trust. Pierce worked hard on safety and research. His actions were open and inclusive. It wasn't about face, but honoring the lost. In time, the Academy recovered. Students trained harder, honoring the fallen. They stood united under Providence's sons. Pierce had led them through the storm, his leadership now revered. The drone of activity filled the International Coalition Academy. Admiral Nathan Pierce studied reports at his desk, focused. The door slid open with a quiet hiss, routine interruption. Another meeting. But this one carried potential change. A machine stood there, sleek metal and alien but human-shaped, reflecting light. It spoke warmly but synthetically. "Admiral Pierce, I am Syntheti Unit RZD9. We should talk cooperation." Pierce straightened. "You've got my attention. What's your proposal?" The Syntheti's head tilted, their version of thought. "We offer advanced AI. In return, we want to learn at your academy." Pierce stood, walked to the window overlooking the grounds. "AI can turn war, but can I trust it to protect our people?" He spoke more to himself than the guest. RZ9's lights pulsed gently. "Our tech's reliable, you can trust it." They shook hands, Pierce's warm flesh against RZ9's cool metal. A partnership built on mutual need and respect. In days after, Syntheti wove into the academy. Students observed the integration, curious. Tech entered curriculum, from classes to combat sims. Every session now buzzed with organic and electronic life. Nathan watched it all, noting the soldiers' adaptability, their acceptance. His mind raced. New tactics and strategy with AI. Peace shattered with a blaring alarm. Screens showed chaos at the gates, smoke billowing from a ruined Syntheti vehicle. Nathan's heart raced. Terra firma had struck. Venomous propaganda, decrying contamination of human purity by machines, their message clear. No place for Syntheti among men. Nathan rallied students and faculty. "We stand united against those who fear the future." Resounding words. He coordinated security, scans and sweeps to find the attackers. Long nights became mornings as teams worked relentlessly. The break came. Terra Firma leaders gathered in a warehouse. Drones showed Nathan their tired, scared, but fanatical faces. Over in an instant. Forces swarmed, boots on concrete, handcuffs clicking. The Terra Firma elite led away. After Nathan stood with the synthety, resolve and sorrow on his face. We build a better future learning together. We can't undo it. He extended his hand to RZ9. The synthety reached out, clasping Nathan's hand. Flesh and metal bonded against violence. Uncertain path ahead, but filled with possibility. Together they would face it, united. Admiral Nathan Pierce's office was quiet except for the whispers of air vents. Messages blinked on the screen, too fast for human eyes. "We found them," said Colonel Harris, Nathan's old friend leading intel. "Vorid scouts head for pack space." Nathan leaned forward, fingertips on his cold desk. "How long we got?" 48 hours if we're lucky." Another screen lit up with pact and syntheti leaders, faces tight with stress. Nathan spoke steady and strong. "We need to work together, set a trap, catch a scout, take it apart." Nods and agreement came through. Plans formed fast, fueled by need and trust in Nathan. The ships gathered at the spot in space for the trap. Silent and still, hulls reflecting distant stars. Nathan stood on the dauntless bridge, at the coalition's heart. Officers moved with purpose, eyes on screens streaming data. The synthety beside him processed faster than humans could. A quiet alert, then silence broke. The scout appeared, slicing through space, unaware of the trap. As it crossed the line, the fleet roared to life. Human and synthety ships fired, tearing the Vorid shields. Space lit up with energy beams and kinetic blasts. The Vorid fought back hard, cannons hammering the ambushes non-stop. "Hold fire, board them," Nathan commanded through the noise. His team prepped to board, armored up in the airlock. Pressure sealed them in. They jetted through debris and echoes of battle. Attached to the hull and melted through with torches. Inside was close quarters fighting. Energy blades met, disruptor shots as they pushed through corridors. The Vorids fought mechanical precision, but Nathan's forces were controlled fury. Room by room they cleared the ship until no resistance remained. The vessel was theirs. "Secure it," Nathan said through radios. "Get our scientists aboard." Human and synthetic scientists worked together, analyzing Vorid tech under harsh lights. They uncovered assimilation methods, strengths added to their own. Together they designed a digital shield against the viral spread. With data cores secured, Nathan ordered findings sent across packed space. Every byte built stronger defenses, a firmer stand against the hive mind invaders. His strategy held them back, an invisible blockade against their advance. Word of the ambush spread like a flare in darkness, reaching all corners of the pact. As defenses fortified with new knowledge, Nathan's name echoed through halls and corridors. The Warden of the Pact, they called him, guardian at the gates of the stronger coalition. The command center was tense. Nathan Pierce leaned to see the guts of Vorid tech. Screens glitched, swarmed with static. "Something's happening!" the tech's voice crackled. Nathan straightened up fast. "Lock the lab down now!" His order shot out. Alarms screamed. A siren wailed through Providence. Pierce ran to the console and slammed his hands down. "Report!" "Virus!" a tech gasped. "It's spreading! Interfacing!" Nathan's jaw clenched tight. He barked into the comm. "Full lockdown!" His firm orders made people move fast. Doors hissed shut. Bulkheads slammed closed. He needed help. "RZ9, you there?" "Affirmative, Admiral," the calm synthetic voice replied. "We need your team. This thing's eating our tech." "Understood. We're on it." Pierce tapped the map display quick. "Seal sections B through F. Move." Teams rushed with urgency. The virus crept on, relentless, infiltrating. Screens died. Drones dropped. Lights dimmed. Pierce suited up, boots clicking metal. He led the team where the virus took hold. It lived in the code, rewriting, taking command. It reached out, searching for more to consume. Through visors they saw scared colonists. Trapped scientists clawed at stuck doors. "Hang on," Pierce's voice cracked through. He blasted a door open. People rushed out to safety. Each second mattered. "Keep moving," he shouted, guiding them back. The synthety worked overtime. RZ-9's team fought the assimilation, codes streaming. "Tough, but we're stemming it," RZ-9 said. Pierce set explosives on compromised bulkheads. His team knew what was at stake. "Detonate on my mark." They fell back as sections erupted in flames, a pyre to hold back the dark. At command, sweat dripped. Pierce hunched over schematics. Syntheti and humans scrambled for solutions. RZ-9 uploaded the counter-agent, a shimmer of hope. Deploying now. The code shot through the network, an arrow at the virus's heart. Light returned, the hold weakened, the advance halted. The crisis ebbed. Breathing eased, people embraced. Machines blinked normal. Pierce leaned on the console, weary but steady. "We'll need stricter tech checks," Pierce said, eyes on the solemn crew. They trusted him. He'd left no one behind. "Admiral, we held the line," RZ-9 said with respect. "Together," Pierce acknowledged. Through the portholes, stars watched silent. Wounded but defiant, Providence stood, a testament to human strength and unity. Nathan's boots echoed as he walked into the summit room. The leaders turned and looked at him. Nathan stood at the head of the metal table. He cleared his throat and looked around. "If we all attack at once, we can break them," he said evenly. "We need to hit their supplies and communications all together. This is our chance to throw them into chaos."
There were murmurs around the table. A leader with tentacles spoke up. "What if they fight back? They adapt quickly."
Nathan looked right at him. "That's why we stay aggressive. We strike hard and keep striking until there's nothing left." The room filled with whispers. The leaders nodded one by one. They were united behind the plan. Nathan felt the weight on his shoulders as they put him in charge. He interfaced with the leaders, comms flickering as the fleets came under his command. Then an unexpected message. A Vorid defector wanted to meet him. The defector waited in a secure room. Guards stood ready at the door with weapons. Nathan went in alone. The creature's skin looked metallic. It stood restrained, but seemed to accept its defeat. "You have information," Nathan stated. The Vorid nodded stiffly. "A hub world, vital to their operations, locations and defenses." Nathan leaned forward, staring hard. "Why tell us?" "For survival. Not all Vorid think alike." Nathan was skeptical, but signaled the guards to lower their weapons a bit. He entered the data as the defector revealed secrets. With the new intel confirmed, the room pulsed with energy. Nathan adjusted their plans to be more precise and lethal. The summit's mood shifted to fierce resolve. The hours turned to minutes. Nathan's presence filled the dauntless command bridge. His steady orders aligned the wills of 100 species into one thrust. At Nathan's command, the diverse packed fleets moved as one. Sleek cruisers flanked robust dreadnoughts, each ship humming with the Alliance's strength. Nathan stood at the front, silently promising each life under his watch. Advancing on their target, he knew this was more than an attack. It was a statement. The Vorid would learn the iron will of humanity. With a nod, Nathan sealed the order. The fleet surged ahead, ready to strike the first blow. Admiral Pierce stared at the map on the command deck. His fleet surrounded the planet in red icons. They swarmed a sting operation. "Delta distraction," he commanded. His voice cut the engine hum. Ships darted at the defenses. Confused alien cruisers broke to chase. Their lines opened for the true strike. Silent black ships shot through the gap. They dove at the surface. Defense beams lit up space. Ships exploded like fireworks. Some made it through, burned but intact. Pierce clenched his fists. Each loss weighed on him. Each survival gave relief. On the ground, Marines spilled from craft into battle. Their boots kicked up red dust. Weapons blazed as they rushed ahead. Explosions cratered the surface. Insectoid aliens returned fire with clicking steps. Pierce tracked the chaos. He shifted resources and ordered reinforcements. Under his gaze, the Marines took targets one by one. The map turned from red to blue. A rumble shook the planet as the superweapon rose. A huge cannon promised annihilation. Its charging whine filled the air. All ships target that weapon, Pierce snapped. Full barrage now. The fleet answered the call. Lasers carved the cannon armor. It fired, a streak of energy that barely missed. Cheers filled the bridge as it crumbled in flames. Silence fell. Screens showed Marines among the rubble, aiding the wounded, securing the silence. Pierce sagged, relieved. He opened the intercom. "Today we saw what unity brings," he began, steel swathed in velvet. Eyes across the forces met his through screens and space. "The fallen will join the stars. Because of them, we have tomorrow." He swept his gaze across the bridge, the planet, the wounded warriors. "Challenges remain. Together we will meet them. For the pact, for the future." The fleet listened, resolve steeled, wounds soothed. They had won this battle. In the galaxy's void, it was but one step on the longer road. Nathan Pierce, once a planet's defender, now a beacon for a coalition. Together they would brave the darknesses. Nathan shuffled through the Vorid city ruins, boots crunching shattered architecture. His soldiers stood proud amidst the wreckage, faces tired and dirty from the fight. He met their eyes, nodding, grasping their shoulders. Words weren't needed. The rubble said it all. Ripples of victory spread across Vorid space. The broken stronghold lit up screens. Sparks of hope ignited uprisings. Nathan's face was etched inside prison cells, a symbol of freedom for the oppressed. On Earth, fireworks lit the mournful celebration under the memorial where Nathan stood at attention. He spoke clearly about the sacrifice that led here. "We honor the fallen by standing together." Providence bustled with life now. Humans and aliens shared tools, food, stories. The people watched as Nathan passed. Some thanked him. Others just stared in silence. He walked the metal paths between buildings and domes. The energy shield's hum was a reminder of shared struggle. At the command center, Nathan scanned the starry maps, strategies swirling. He paused, breathed deep, and leaned into the console, focused completely. Around him, voices carried the weight of galaxies on their shoulders. Nathan thought of Earth, of Providence, of all who looked to him. The stars drifted past the view screen as the ships readied for battle. In the quiet, Nathan pondered not just war, but the shape of peace, humanity's future among the stars. His hand hovered over the console, ready to command. Peace was worth pursuing, whatever it took. The engines ignited as Nathan set out once more, a beacon of determination and resilience. Galarian spun into view, oceans blue and cities grey and broken. Nathan looked down from the window of the ship. The cities hurt to see. Vorid greed had torn them apart. The ship flew quiet, hidden from sensors that bent light away. Inside, team members readied gear, humans and aliens alike, united today by one mission, one fight. The ship thudded down on cracked pad. The door hissed open. Gunfire boomed in the hazy distance. Nathan stepped out, boots crunching gravel. His team followed, eyes alert, weapons ready. They moved swift through alleys toward the meet point. Grim resistance fighters waited in the abandoned shop. They shared quick nods with Nathan's team. Maps rolled out over the dusty counter. Fingers pointed to key areas, Vorid spots, chokeholds. "Hit them hard," Nathan said, stabbing a spot on the map, the city's heart. Their voices would be gunfire, their debate, close combat. They split up, humans and aliens as one. The city swallowed them into its maze. Pulse shots split the night, reflecting in shattered glass. Nathan led from the front, radio glued to his ear, back and forth reports. Each block taken was a win, each retreat calculated. Nathan reached the city edge with a soldier, where rubble ended and boulevard began. The resistance guarded their backs. They charged. Lasers sliced the air in lines of danger. Nathan's rifle snapped back, crisp in the battle's song. A scream pierced the noise. A fallen Galarian clutched his leg. Nathan hauled him to cover, safe for a moment amid the chaos. "Stay down," he barked. Medics dragged the wounded away. The fight churned on. The massive Capitol building loomed ahead, scarred by war. Barricades blocked its doors. Explosives turned them to dust. The team flooded inside, sweeping the halls clean. One last shot, and the flag flew high, victory. Cheers broke out loud over the gunfire. As the fleet descended from orbit, Nathan watched from the Capitol steps. Ships sliced through the sky, transports landed, troops and supplies securing their win. Civilians emerged, eyes wide with relief to see their world reclaimed. A living wave of relief spread through the growing crowd. Nathan pointed out key defense spots to engineers. Walls, turrets, generators. "We hold this planet," he said. They nodded, faces grave. Even as Galerian celebrated, work had begun, building the future. Later in the command room, Nathan stood before the map, Galerian a lit beacon against Vorid darkness. One planet, one win. The war was far from done. The Vorid would return, with fury or fear, but Galerian stood firm. They would be ready. Nathan made a silent promise to himself and the galaxy. The command room buzzed as screens flooded with coded messages. Admiral Nathan Pierce leaned over a 3D map. Red dots clustered around Vorid space. They were massing like a storm, ready to attack vulnerable areas. Reports blinked insistently under dim lights. The Vorid regrouped to strike back.
"We're running out of time," Pierce said. Officers stood alert. "We hit them now. We hit them hard. We strike where they don't expect."
The officers nodded, no need to convince them. His reputation did that. Pierce watched as pack leaders connected on the screens. His words were like bullets. "The Vorid swarm like ants. We smash their lines before they form, hit their outposts all at once, break their back." On distant worlds, leaders listened, faces serious. They were used to the quiet of space, the careful moves like cosmic chess. Now the table flipped, pieces scattering. They played Pierce's game now. Fleet commanders got orders and spread out, surrounding Vorid space like a net. Ships undocked, unfinished repairs left open. Engineers cut rest short, bolting panels down. Soldiers strapped gear on, checked weapons. The ships readied to strike, a coordinated symphony led by Pierce's plan. Around Vorid outposts, space erupted with fire and darting ships. The unseen packed fleet announced itself with sizzling lasers and ballistic rounds. Each ship danced its war dance. Every pilot knew their part. Pierce's ship, the Dauntless, slid through unseen, cloaked. From the deck, he directed the destruction, eyes quick, voice firm. His orders were like swords, clear and sharp. "Alpha strike team, target his main reactor. Gamma cover, Beta handle interference. If they breathe, you're there." His officers moved with precision, a well-rehearsed waltz. Not their first, not their last. Each victory, each disabled outpost, rattled Vorid channels. Confusion spilled in alien clicks across hacked frequencies. Pierce easily pierced their language barrier. "They're shaken, keep the pressure on," he urged. The pact clawed forward under Pierce's will. In a surge, they captured a Vorid warship, bristling with guns. Pierce's team boarded with precision, clearing corners, securing hatches. Inside the dim ship, the Vorid crew huddled, lost without commands. Some raised limbs in surrender, others slumped, will drained away. Pierce paced the captured ship. His steps made promises. Interrogators expertly pried truths from unwilling throats. And then it came, whispered in disbelief, then repeated, "The Queen." The concept was alien to the pact, but the Queen, heart of their society, beacon of their military might, existed. Now the mission expanded, not just a battle, but a chance to end the war. In the council chamber, Pierce's image stood tall and unwavering, his voice steady. "We can cut off the head, crush their spirit. We take the Queen." Council members shifted, exchanging glances. They knew Pierce, his victories. Doubt lingered, but also trust, hard-earned now. Their agreement came like a sunrise after long night. "Admiral Pierce, you may strike. You have the go-ahead," the council said, unified at last. Pierce nodded, face resolute. "Thank you," he said. Time for debate was over. Now for action. He left the chamber, steps echoing. Officers glanced up, expectant. The warship hung outside, its fate uncertain under the stars. Pierce looked out, the Queen a new weapon. "Prepare the hunt," he told the room, words ringing with certainty. The council consented. The mission was clear. The rules changed. The Vorid Queen would soon fear the name Nathan Pierce. Nathan paced the simulation room as his team dodged and fired at shadows on the walls. Sweat dripped down their faces, orders shot from his mouth into their headsets. "Again," Nathan barked once it ended. They reset as technicians tweaked the difficulty. The enemy queen flickered on screen. Engineers whispered around a prototype cloaking device in the corner. Their fingers danced on tablets as it pulsed, ready and waiting. Nathan grabbed a bioscanner and watched it boot up. The all clear made him nod with satisfaction. They drifted into enemy space unseen, the silence their shroud. Nathan kept his hand near the cloaking switch. "Light resistance," the lieutenant said, voice taut. "Too easy." "Stay sharp," Nathan ordered. The enemy base loomed against the stars. They deployed, boots quiet on the metal ground. Behind them, the ship shivered, cloaked and waiting. Guile came first. They slunk down corridors, dodging patrols at the last second. When met with resistance, brute force took over. Blasts cracked through the air, bodies thudded to the floor, weapons clattering. They found her, the queen, in a vast chamber lit with sick light that glinted off her shell. The scanner screamed. She was close. "Move!" Nathan's voice cut through the room. She turned, eyes reflecting a dozen miniature Nathans. She hissed, the sound like razors on their nerves. The air changed with her command. Warriors flooded in, minds linked to their queen. The escape was chaos. A blast opened the wall and sucked them out. They fired anchors into the deck, pulling themselves to safety. Each movement took a lifetime. Back on the ship, the team limped with fractures and burns, reminders of how close death had come. As they retreated into the void, Nathan watched the stars flicker. The queen waited out there, her will unbroken. They had to find a crack in her armor. "This isn't over," he said to the silent stars. The team looked to him, scarred but ready. They would recover, rethink, and return. The galaxy depended on it. Admiral Nathan Pierce didn't plan to fail. The command room was cold. No celebrations after the failed mission. Silence hung in the air. They'd come back alive, but not winners. The pact leaders stared from their holograms, disappointed and angry. One alien covered in blue plates shook his head. "We expected more, Admiral." Nathan Pierce stood straight, hands behind his back. He looked each hologram in the eyes. "It's on me," he said, voice calm. "I won't let my team take responsibility for my calls." The leaders whispered to each other. Doubt showed through the holograms. They signed off, one by one. Nathan stood alone in the dim room, weighed down by failure. He didn't let the defeat crush him. Nathan walked the halls with purpose. His crew avoided looking at him, pretending to work. He knew their minds filled with the retreat, the defeat ringing in their ears. He passed the main hall headed for the lab. Sparks flew as humans and Synthety worked at their stations. Screens filled with code, waiting to be used. One scientist, a woman with oil-stained sleeves, turned to Nathan. "We might have something, Admiral." Her fingers danced on a tablet, pulling up algorithms. Beside her, a Synthety pointed to the code with its cables. "This can disrupt their hive mind, mess up their communication." Nathan leaned in, looking over the code. "Can we use this widely?" Nods around the room. "We'll need to hit their hubs. Insert it directly," said the Synthety. Nathan called his strike teams. Their faces lit up with the new plan. They gathered around a star map targeting Vorid hubs. Energy filled the air, a chance to turn things around. "We hit hard and fast," Nathan said, pointing at the first target. "Get the code in before they adapt, mess up their order." In hours they prepped. Ships loaded, weapons checked. Each soldier moved precisely, deliberately. No mistakes allowed. The fleet slipped through the stars, shadows between them. The first hub was too quiet. Boots echoed as the teams went in. They linked pads to consoles, uploading the code. The Vorid drones stirred, confused by the new code. Nathan watched from his ship as it spread through their network like a shockwave. Each raid after went smoother. The chaos among the Vorid was clear, visible from orbit as ships crashed into each other. Comms from the ground reported panic and disarray. The pact leaders watched, skepticism fading to cautious hope. Success brought confidence, and confidence brought support. Nathan's voice held their newfound hope when he next addressed them. With this disruption, we have an advantage. We hit them now while vulnerable. We use everything. Their agreement came, affirmative signals across the network. They'd seen human innovation combined with synthety precision. They'd seen Nathan turn failure into opportunity. Now the command center buzzed with life. Technicians called out targets, soldiers shouted back, anticipation thick in the air. Nathan watched his plan unfold on the screens, destruction choreographed perfectly. And through it all, Nathan stood firm, steering his ship through the storm towards hopeful dawn. Nathan Pierce froze as the airlock opened to the chamber. Tall tenebris filled the room in shifting cloths that matched the walls. Their stark room had no chairs, just floating lights, and tenebris standing in a circle with oval eyes on Nathan. "Admiral Pierce," one said in a resonating voice. Its hands stayed at its sides with long, jointless fingers. Nathan stepped up. His uniform was plain, no stripes or medals. "I need your help," Nathan began evenly. He scanned their faces. He spoke about the Vorid threat-burning worlds. He kept hands open, honest in their culture. "Vorid ignore neutral groups," Nathan said. "They'll come for you too." The room was still. Tenebris faces showed nothing, statues listening. One taller tenebris with rank lines tilted its head. "You bring war here, human. We want peace." Nathan nodded. "We fight for peace. We just need your tools, not warriors." He stood firm. Another tenebris folded its hands. "After war, what's next for man?" "We rebuild. Remember, friends." Nathan didn't hesitate. Tenebris exchanged looks, slow and deliberate. They turned back. "We will help you, Admiral Pierce," it announced. "We have unseen ships. They are yours to use for peace." Relief filled Nathan's veins, though he stayed calm. "We honor this bond." Next days blurred. Sleek black ships arrived. They absorbed light, engines quiet. Engineers studied them eagerly. Nathan watched pilots practice with the vessels from command. They slid through space, barely seen. "Coordinate these," Nathan ordered. "Learn them. Weave them in." Pilots nodded, focused behind glass. Ships vanished and reappeared in drills. Phantoms in space. The war room filled with new plans and paths pointing at maps. They discussed entry to Vorid space, nodding together. Tenebris watched in silence, trusting the pact with man. Their tech, once secret, now a shared sword. "Deploy them," Nathan commanded confidently. The gift changed the war. He felt the tide turning. As stealth ships vanished from scans, Nathan knew this was pivotal. Man stood united, strength multiplied. Vorid would know their full might. Nathan stood on the Tenebris stealth ship's bridge. His fingers felt the smooth, dark panels. The ship slid silently through space, unseen in the darkness. Nathan's hand-picked crew moved with quiet precision around him. They hunted secrets, ghosts in the void. "Signal from the planet," the comms officer whispered. Nathan leaned in to look. The viewscreen showed a scarred world in rebellion. Vorid drones marched against their own kind, risen in revolt. Bolstered by the Pact's victories, they fought with blazing defiance. Nathan's lips tightened. Opportunity called with each rebel shout, each blast against Vorid steel. "Get us down there," he ordered. His hands were steady, mind racing with plans. The stealth ship whispered into the atmosphere, avoiding the chaotic battles below. They touched down in a quiet valley, away from the fighting. The air was tense, waiting. Nathan stepped outside, the crisp air in his lungs. His ground team stood ready, crates of arms piled high in the hold. Each box held strength for the rebels. Nathan met the rebel leaders in their makeshift bunker. Maps lay before them, stained with hasty markings. Their determination echoed off the walls. "We stand with you," Nathan said, meeting hopeful eyes around him. Their belief was a palpable force, spurring Nathan onward. At dawn, training began. Nathan's crew demonstrated weapons with steady hands. Rebels watched intently, quick to absorb and adapt. Gunfire rang out across the valley, a defiant chorus. Nathan watched the insurgents transform into soldiers, packed weapons in their hands, were more than tools. They were symbols that said the rebels were no longer alone or helpless. Blind in arrogance, the Vorid overseers missed the gathering storm until too late. The rebels attacked at dusk, opening fire as their signal. Explosions bloomed across Vorid holdings, beacons of liberation. Nathan's hand-picked fighters stood with the rebels, sharing their fury and belief. Though fierce, the tide favored them. Disrupted algorithms turned Vorid precision to chaos. Nathan watched the final overseer fall, its building collapsing atop it. The rebels roared victory, freedom carved into the very air. No longer drones, never again. Rising from the valley, Nathan watched the liberated planet shrink. Word spread faster than light, kindling uprisings on other worlds. Admiral Pierce became a whispered legend, not just a tactician, but a liberator, architect of rebellions. His name was a rallying cry for the despairing. Meeting Nathan's gaze, his crew understood. Words were unneeded. They had seen Unity's power, the dawn of freedom. As a master of war and harbinger of hope, Nathan's place was undisputed. Silent once more, the stealth ship vanished into the void. Like wildfire, defiant hope spread across a galaxy too long ruled by fear. Admiral Nathan Pierce looked at the data from the 12 planets on the bridge of his ship, the Dauntless. Officers around him whispered into headsets. Aliens floated by, fingers moving over controls, adjusting the cloak hiding the fleet. Nathan stared at the map. Red dots marked targets, Vorid factories. Today, those dots would disappear. "We attack on my order," Nathan said. His voice cut through the engine noise. No big speech needed. The ships knew the goal. The first wave struck, hitting a Vorid base far away. A distraction to pull their fleets away, leaving the targets exposed. The Vorids took the bait, sending ships to intercept. Inside the cloak, Nathan's main fleet slid through space unseen, ghosts riding cosmic wind. On Nathan's silent command, the armada split and aimed at the heart of Vorid industry. One by one, factories bloomed into flames under the fleet's precise assault. Ammo depots, shipyards, supply docks, all shattered to debris. Each explosion severed another chain from the Vorid war machine. On the Dauntless, Nathan's fingers danced on the controls, directing the attack, eyes glued to the hollow display. Officers passed orders efficiently. "Factory at Sector 6 destroyed," a crewman called out. "Supply lines at 14 cut," shouted another. Nathan nodded, face like steel. The hits ignited silent cheers across the ship. The fleet had trained for this unity. It showed. For hours, the silent assault continued. On the map, lights dimmed one by one. When the last target fell, Nathan let out a measured breath. "Ceasefire," he ordered. "Damage report." The crew jumped into action, scanning the ruined factories. The extent of their success flooded in. On the screen, faces of 100 leaders stared in awe, their voices melded in grateful chorus. "Admiral Pierce, you've brought us hope," they said. "You've turned the tide." Nathan stood firm, feeling the fleet's trust in that moment. He sought only victory, yet his name now meant hope for the galaxy's future. Nathan Pierce stood tall in the command room. Officers from every race were there too, waiting. Their eyes watched the man in the center of the room. The screen flickered on. The High Council appeared. Faces so different, each could have come from across the stars, but all shared respect. One leader, skin shimmering, stepped forward. "Admiral Nathan Pierce," he said clearly, "for unmatched service, the Council makes you Supreme Commander." Silence filled the vast room. Nathan's hands stayed steady. He nodded, accepting the weight. "I won't fail this trust," Nathan replied firmly. In the days after, Nathan changed the military. Busy rooms now worked together under his command. Diverse officers huddled around screens, using their strengths. "Listen," Nathan said sharply. "The flyers take the skies, the tanks punch through, our forces flank. Together we hit the Vorid hard." The units moved as one, a dance of destruction against the Vorid. Hope reached across the lines. No more hesitation, only action. "Forward, no rest," Nathan ordered, eyes on the shifting fronts. His finger traced new attacks. Units followed. Word of victory spread. Every soldier felt resolve strengthen. Species gave more to the war. Shipyards worked overtime, vessels in lines like silver guardians. Nathan watched sleek cruisers depart, a display of packed unity. He turned to his crew, determination plain on their faces. Every wind tells the Vorid, we won't stop, we won't fail. We end this threat together. His words an oath. The deck stayed busy. Officers relayed messages. Specialists tracked fleets. Nathan worked tirelessly. No detail missed. No unit forgotten. The commander led. His orders the heartbeat of packed strength, chipping away the once mighty Vorid. With Nathan leading, they looked ahead with resolve, not fear. Admiral Nathan Pierce scanned the data monitors on the Dauntless's command walls. Scientists from Human, Syntheti, and Tenebrae teams huddled around the glowing screens. They crossed hands, poking at alien tech nodes. Murmured words filled the room with tense energy. Pierce spoke clearly. Break their spine, find the crack. The teams surged with vigor. Hours passed. A Syntheti scientist called Pierce. We found a weakness, Admiral. He pointed at a node on the screen. A flaw we can hit. Pierce leaned in. A crack in their armor, he said. His mind raced, planning a strike to cripple the Vorids. Pierce barked orders to assemble a covert team. We cut their power. We spread chaos. The strike force left the Dauntless with Pierce. Silent ships slipped into Vorid space unseen. They docked at the energy station, shadows moving in darkness. Explosive charges were set, timed and linked. The team pulled back, ready to strike. Pierce held the detonator switch, looking to his strike team. Human and alien eyes met, ready and resolute. He pressed the button. Flames erupted, tearing through Vorid power lines. Lights blinked out system-wide. Military bases went dark and silent. Vorid control fractured into chaos. Ships collided without guidance. Ground troops stumbled blindly. Word of the blackout spread on screens across packed systems. Their alliance saw its strength. Pierce watched the spreading cracks in Vorid control. Reports came of defections, soldiers abandoning fading masters. A breath in the endless war. The team had landed a blow, cracking Vorid armor. But Pierce knew. The war marched on. He turned from the dauntless windows, fading into the void beyond. We move forward, he said firmly, for the pact, for victory. The room was empty except for the long table between them. Nathan stood stiff in the harsh light of this place floating in space. Across from him sat the Vorid queen. Her shiny shell reflected his many images. Silent guards flanked them both. I say truce, she clicked. No more fighting. Borders for my people. Nathan's eyes narrowed. Free the slaves. Pay for the damage. The screens of the packed council watched, blurring. Quiet filled the room. Tension cracked. You bargain hard, human? Said the queen, antennae twitching. Nathan leaned in, voice steady. No terms, no deal. Alien whispers echoed off the walls. Nathan stared at the queen. She bent her head, just a little. Agreed. For my empire's life. The council's faces relaxed. One alien with backplates raised a limb. They approved the truce. The feeling in the room shifted. War left. Tense peace came. Nathan watched the news spread across the galaxy. Celebration sounds replaced blasts on ravaged worlds. But grief remained. In the weeks after, Nathan's voice coordinated rebuilding. Ships brought supplies, not weapons. Workers in dusty clothes fixed what was lost. He walked city streets where kids watched, awe and uncertainty in their eyes. He shook hands with leaders, nodding, speaking briefly. Rubble cleared. Buildings rose. A new power generator started. Lights came on in a month's dark city. Families left shelters, smiling and crying, looking at the peaceful night sky. Outside a medical tent, medics hustled, exhausted. Nathan stopped by a child's bed, head bandaged. He left a small toy by the boy's hand. The child's eyes lit up. The truce held, though fragile. The Vorid kept borders, sullen and quiet. Freed slaves whispered Nathan's name with awe. The man who stood strong before their queen. Nathan traveled, steadying the chaos of new starts. His words built peace where assault was expected. Scars remained, but the galaxy took its first steps. Steps Nathan guided. In the huge hall, Nathan's footsteps echoed off the steel walls, mixed with the marching boots of soldiers, human and Vorid. The high ceiling was covered in 100 battle flags and symbols of alliances. In the center, the flag of the Vorid Empire stood out shining. Below it, recruits stood in perfect lines, a sign of the peace Nathan brought together. At the far end, human marines drilled close combat. 10 steps away, Vorids practiced the same moves. The instructors barked orders that bounced off the steel walls. Observers from different planets watched, skeptical, hopeful, curious. Nathan walked the rows, looking at the mix of species. Vorids towered over humans, covered in chitin plates. They moved together, attacking and defending in sync. Each step was deliberate, bringing them closer to peace. "This is it," Nathan said to a Vorid commander beside him. "Not just training soldiers, building bridges." His collar translated into clicks and tones. The Vorid gestured back, the collar turning it into a deep, rumbling voice. "Many thought peace would fail, but this gives me hope." Later, Nathan sat eating with humans and aliens. The canteen echoed voices and the clang of Vorid plates, the smell of earth spices mixed with tangy Vorid food. He watched a human joke with a Vorid. They grinned, despite the translation. The Vorid's laugh boomed as he slapped the table. Their bond went beyond training, into simple laughter. Over months, the peacekeepers stopped border wars. They stood between factions in blue helmets, with the emblem of a handshake circled by stars. Once on Clavic Prime's moon, peacekeepers prevented war over mining rights. Nathan spent tense hours going between factions, facilitating calm negotiation. By nightfall, an agreement was made, guaranteed by the peacekeepers. Rehabilitation, not retribution, marked the era. Former soldiers learned trades at centers on ravaged planets. Humans and Vorids building homes and farming together became normal. In this new world, old hatreds became lessons overcome. Bases were cultural exchanges, learning languages and customs. The dream of prosperity and survival bonded all. Nathan watched the first peacekeepers depart, a multi-species force united. The engine hum whispered potential. The gleam of ships promised against the void of space. Pride shone in Nathan's eyes as he saluted them. Long after, Nathan stood contemplating the future. He had seen too much war and now championed peace fiercely. Once a beacon of war, now a steadfast guardian of peace. From conflict, cooperation flourished. Ships from alien worlds filled Earth's sky, metal gliding across blue. The United Nations headquarters had become a beacon, its marble halls full of creatures from 100 planets. They walked with heads high, anticipation in their eyes. Though different species marked by their worlds, today they shared a path. Inside, Nathan stood in the crowded hall. Screens showed translations between alien languages. He moved between groups, inviting them in with gestures and focus. At a table, planet representatives leaned over a draft to unite them. Their chatter bounced off the high ceiling. "Sorjak, your people fought off the Hivari. You can guide our defense agreement," Nathan said clearly. Sorjak's shell shimmered in the light, her head tilted, antennae wiggling. "Our ships will defend," she clicked through the translator, "but not aggressively. Past violence can't repeat." Nathan nodded, taking notes on his tablet. Worlds scarred by the Vorids watched closely. Nathan tapped the screen, showing defense points marked across a galactic map. Silent agreements formed as they traced safe paths. Days and nights blended as they carved out trade routes, tangled on environment rules, created shared signals for distress. Human diplomats brought food and drink from Earth, flavors that drew pleased hums or polite declines. At a smaller table, a blue-skinned trader told Nathan, "Piracy plagues our area. We need protection." Nathan leaned in, hands clasped on the polished wood. "We'll stop pirates. This Concord promises safety." Delegates huddled in groups, shadows stretching. Some used devices while others gestured wildly. The noise echoed civilization's future being built. In the final hours, Nathan addressed the full assembly. His voice rang out, measured and convincing. "Today, we make more than rules. We shape a shared destiny. The Concord reflects our hopes and commitment to unite." He turned to the window, sunlight on his face. Outside, Earth was vibrant, oceans swirling blue. This planet nurtured us. Now let it launch us into mutual respect and exploration. Heads nodded, sounds of approval rustling. One by one they came to the podium, placing hands, claws, tendrils on the glass tablet, signing the historic concord. The hall thundered with applause. Among handshakes and backslaps, Nathan smiled. His work echoed across the cosmos. On screens worldwide, children pressed noses to glass, eyes wide as the concord sealed. Leaders and citizens stood together, knowing the galactic dawn had come. Nathan held the concord at the United Nations steps. Flags waved with vigor in the wind. Delegates descended behind him, voices light in many tongues. There on Earth, under a sky once a barrier, was the promise of forever, an alliance ready to embrace the universe. Nathan looked to the stars. They didn't seem distant anymore. Nathan looked at the broken land of Gliva 4. Cities were now just empty frames, bones of the past. But today, the air shook with new sounds. Not echoes of death, but of rebirth. Men and women from Earth worked with aliens. They carried plans for a new city. Cranes lifted carbon slabs precisely into place, human skill and alien brains combined. Admiral, the water system for the farm dome works. Water flows. The soil is ready for crops, an engineer said. He handed Nathan a tablet. It showed the new hydroponic farms filling with water. Empty troughs would soon grow food for many worlds. Nathan looked out at greenhouses in the grey waste. They brought life back to the land. He walked through a field. Biologists released insect drones. Each would plant seeds. New forests would reclaim the scarred ground, give back homes to native life and refugees. Mixing Terran oaks and your silver ferns looks good, a biologist told a tall alien. Its blue leaves softly rustled. This meant thanks. Next, a market with many smells and sounds. Chefs from Earth and Vorids cooked together. They shared food and skills. A Vorid tentacle wrapped a spiced Terran tuber. A human flipped sizzling ktara, a local favorite. In one corner, children painted a mural. Cascades of color told tales of peace. Their laughter wove through the air. Nathan joined the painting, adding vibrant green. These programs are mortar, he said to an alien mother, her child painted. Not just for them, for our new galaxy. The mother's eyes crinkled in agreement. When night fell, the new city glowed. Buildings once just ideas now lit up streets. Families filled plazas. Musicians played familiar and strange songs, an interstellar blend. Nathan climbed a platform. The crowd cheered his arrival. He raised his hands to quiet them. Today, we celebrate our future's birth. Not war's end. Brick by brick, idea by idea, we shape a galaxy for our children. Applause roared from the varied crowd. Fireworks exploded over the renewed city. With each visit, Nathan left more than buildings and tools. He planted seeds of a legacy beyond any one world. In his wake, renewal, a trail showing what united effort could do, testimony to humanity's vast possibility. The console lit up red with alerts. Nathan Pierce saw the blinking warnings. His pulse sped up, not from fear, from resolve. He had stared into the abyss before. "Status," he said sharply. A scientist turned to him. Her face glowed from the monitor light. "The terraforming on Viridia is broken, Admiral. The air generators are off, pressure's building. The planet could blow." Nathan moved fast. He started planning. "Get engineers here now. Prep the response teams." His orders were immediate. Every second mattered. Viridia was a new planet with soft blues and greens. Millions of settlers wanted new lives there. Now their lives hung by threads. In engineering, hands flew over controls. Scientists huddled around screens, coding fixes. "Vent more. Redirect the flow," Nathan said steadily. A young engineer nodded and typed fast. Sweat beaded his forehead. The generators hummed loud, fighting the dangerous pressure building below. Nathan watched the data streams closely. "Stabilize it," he ordered. Everyone held their breath. The numbers evened out. The threat pulled back inch by inch. The room erupted in cheers. But Nathan stayed focused. "Keep watch," he reminded them. The work hum continued. The joy was tempered. Vigilance was the eternal price. Later, Nathan stood before the pact leaders. His presence commanded the room. "This was too close," he began. His words underlined the gravity. "Viridia was nearly lost. Millions could have died. We need safeguards, a rapid response network, protocols that react before crisis." He looked each person in the eyes, scientists, engineers, leaders. "The Concord is about life and future. We're here to protect that. We must be better, faster. This is our wake-up call." As they listened, his words were felt, not just heard. The Concord knew they had a guardian, a man who stood between them and disaster, who turned could-have-beens into vigilance. So they got to work. Systems upgraded, drills run, safety woven around each world. Viridia could breathe again. Its settlers returned home, faith in the Concord unshaken. Nathan watched children play by the generators from a hill. Their laughter was the sound of the future he and the Concord would always protect. Nathan stood in the middle of Concord Prime, the former empty space now lively with creatures of all shapes and colors. Two-legged beings walked next to ones with wings, all moving like they belonged. Shiny buildings reached high in the air. Their glass walls sparkled under the stars, their strong bases built by working together. Nathan watched a pack of young ones, their faces serious, as they went into a building. The Pierce Foundation symbol sat over the door, an open hand holding a globe. Nathan had poured his battle-worn heart into this place. He wanted it to plant seeds of peace that would last. Inside, experts in weird clothes leaned over holograms, drawing up plans to turn dead moons into green worlds. In classrooms, lectures mixed alien languages. The lessons taught history, talks between species, and respect for other cultures. A researcher caught Nathan's eye. The man's hands flew over a panel, bringing an engine model to life. This new design would make travel between stars faster. It would shrink the huge galaxy, pulling the worlds closer together. Next-door musicians gathered. Their tools showed off their unique cultures. When they played, the music was new. Nothing like it had been heard before. It was a song of working together. The sounds bounced off the Foundation's walls, a testament to the unity Nathan pictured. A young painter walked up to Nathan. He showed a canvas with bold, colliding colors. It depicted the species united within the Concord. Nathan looked at the passion in the art's every line, a reflection of the peace he wanted to inspire. One room focused on health. Biologists from different planets shared discoveries to fight diseases that had plagued their worlds for ages. They looked at alien cells under microscopes, their breakthroughs saving lives and changing them. Nathan entered a dome where engineers simulated planet-wide power, harnessing energy from suns and cosmic forces. Their solutions would light cities and warm hatchlings on hundreds of cold worlds. "Admiral Pierce, the new supersolar cells are ready," an engineer said. Nathan nodded, pleased.
He walked the halls. Eager young interns followed, from faraway star systems, hanging on Nathan's every word, as he spoke of balance, caring for things, and hope for a better tomorrow.
On a big stage, Nathan faced a sea of faces. "Today we launch the Pierce Voyager," he boomed, an exploration ship to chart the unknown. The crowd erupted in cheers. Screens showed the sleek ship leaving port, ready to find new stars and connect distant worlds. "We go forth as friends, not conquerors," Nathan said clearly, "to represent the peace and prosperity of the Concord." The triple sun set over Concord Prime. The Foundation grew dim but didn't sleep. Nathan knew peace wasn't a place you reached. It was a garden you constantly tended. The Pierce Foundation stood as a monument, a beacon of Nathan's legacy, a galaxy where peace was normal and every being could thrive under stars they could all call home. The shuttle cut through the clouds. Nathan stood watching the new planet get closer. The land was green and untouched below, oceans deep blue. Life filled the wild spaces. This place could be a new beginning. Nathan turned to the team behind him. "We're not just settlers. We protect this place too," he told them. His voice carried the sound of experience and hope. They landed softly in an open field. Tall grasses waved in the wind. The air smelled fresh and full of new plants starting to bloom. Nathan walked out first, his boots pressed into the soft dirt. Drones buzzed up to map the land. Back home, Nathan said to only use stuff we can replace, like sun and wind power. No digging up fossil fuels or clearing forests for farms here. Pierce's hope would be different. Solar panels unfolded from the shuttle. They drank up the sunlight. Small wind turbines started spinning. The engineers nodded, pleased. Everything worked together without hurting the nature around them. That night in the tent, Nathan went over the plans. The colony would spread out in circles, solar-powered homes surrounded by gardens, ponds, and shared spaces for all. Sustainability is key here, Nathan said again. We changed to match the planet, not the other way. In a few weeks, Pierce's hope took shape. The buildings blended into the scenery. They used stuff like carbon composites. The people arriving from crowded worlds took deep breaths. Their smiles were real. They liked the open skies and wide views. Nathan walked around the colony, his presence reassured. He saw families planting native bushes next to crops. They made human life part of the natural place. Engineers showed him the water filtering, so nothing bad got into the streams. Nathan nodded, pleased. Kids ran through the greenery, already loving their new home. That night, under the stars, Nathan met with the leaders. Pierce's hope shows what we can do if we respect nature, he said. They listened as soft, glowing plants lit their faces. The colony thrived. Word spread across the galaxy. Other worlds wanted to copy its balance of progress and keeping things as they were. Nathan's vision of living in harmony with new worlds became more than an idea. It shone from Pierce's hope like a beacon. Nathan Pierce looked sharp as he stood before the young cadets at the Interstellar Combat Academy. Banners from different systems lined the walls, showing the unity Nathan fought for. He walked between the rows, hands behind his back. His voice echoed through the hall, no need for a mic. Leading isn't just orders. It's being first into the fire and last to run, Nathan said. He stopped and looked a cadet in the eye. You're here to learn how and why we fight, who we fight for. His boots tapped the polished floor with each step. His words sank into the cadets' minds. At summits, Nathan stood on stage with Concord flags behind him. He shared hard lessons from war and politics. His voice stayed strong, telling of past trials and bonds made. Peace after battle matters most, he'd say. Defend that peace daily through your choices. Nathan's program was more than lectures. He took the cadets to see rebuilt planets, now thriving with Concord help. They walked cities with playing children and busy markets. Nathan introduced leaders, ex-rebels now in charge. They told of the change seen. See this? Nathan waved to a busy square. This was a battlefield. Now it's alive. That change is the real win. The cadets saw his impact firsthand. Settlers thanked them for Concord security. Old enemies broke bread, sharing stories beyond old divides. In class and war rooms, the cadets soaked up Nathan's lessons. They challenged each other, aiming higher than normal strategy and combat. They learned to value all views, knowing real strength comes from working together. Nathan listened, sometimes stern, often pushing them further. Think bigger and beyond, he'd say. Every problem has a solution without shots fired. His influence showed as the cadets took Concord roles. They became leaders embodying Nathan's courage, unity, and compassion. They spread his legacy, ensuring his values reached the Concord's future. Guided by Nathan, these cadets from many worlds grew into peacemakers. Like ripples in a pond, their impact radiated out. Once a war hero, Nathan Pierce had become the architect of lasting peace. His vision now carried on by hands that would build, not destroy. Zhang sat across from Admiral Pierce at the bare metal table, her recorder between them. She watched his eyes and hands, tracking each movement. The clank and hiss of the ship filled the silence. So when did you figure you were making a difference? Zhang's tone was all business. Her job was turning his life into a story that would inspire. Pierce looked past her out the window at the streaking stars. When I saw the Viridian kids playing where there used to just be ashes. Zhang nodded and tapped notes into her device. For months she'd gathered accounts of battles now memorials, allies and enemies both. She had the data to show how peace took hold. The book flew off shelves right away. Duty's horizon laid Pierce's dedication bare, from firefights to silent diplomacy. Zhang's words were clear and direct as a bell. She didn't need frills to show his path from soldier to peacemaker. In schools it was required reading, fodder for debates on the cost of peace. Students quoted Pierce over lunch, arguing the best ways to solve new crises. And it wasn't just students. Volunteers signed up to serve the new worlds he'd championed. His push for settlements and cooperation shaped their work. One quiet night, Pierce walked through the conquered gardens. A statue of him stood amidst quotes set in stone. He watched a group of youths gathered there, one reading aloud from the memoir. The others listened, faces lit with possibility. In that moment, Pierce knew his legacy was more than past deeds. It lived in every individual inspired to dream of a better universe. His story belonged to them now, guiding the way towards unity and service. He had sparked a fire, one that would burn across the stars for generations to come. The Vorid Queen's message arrived secured in layered encryption, each word verified. Admiral Nathan Pierce, come to our planet, a symbol of our new peace. No human had ever set foot there. History in the making. Nathan looked at the alien writing on the screen, the translation beside it. His finger hovered over the keys. With one tap he typed his response. I accept. The weight of it all settled on his shoulders. What it could mean for the future. Silent journey through the stars, blurred constellations outside. His ship entered Vorid territory. The arrival brought tension. 1,000 eyes watched the human who had beaten them, yet offered peace. Nathan walked down the ramp onto Vorid soil. A mix of red and grey dust. It puffed under his steps, crisp uniform with only the needed medals. The clothes bore the importance of this moment. Thick alien musk in the air, so different than his ship's sterile oxygen. The Queen's shell shimmered in the sunlight, fractals of light as she came closer, rigid stances in her surrounding servants. Nathan bowed slightly, matching their greetings. You honor us with your presence, Nathan Pierce, clicked the Queen's translation device. Our people see a new dawn in your visit. I come in friendship and respect, Nathan's voice carried to the silent onlookers. Much we can learn. In the great hall, Nathan and scholars sat around a circular table, a map of the galaxy on its surface. They shared stories of triumphs, lessons learned from failures. Nathan listened to the clicks in their words as they talked, watched their emphasis with mandible clicks. Talk shifted to art, intricate Vorid patterns woven into the hall's fabrics. Nathan touched them, fingertips on the ridges, as the Queen explained their meaning. In the days after, knowledge shared of both worlds. Vorid biologists displayed their vibrant flora and fauna so different than the grey planet. Human engineers offered terraforming ideas that lit up Vorid eyes. Cultural exchange blossomed over the days. Nathan attended Vorid concerts. Symphonies of chittering and drums filled the air. He told of Earth's blue oceans and diverse life, captivating them. As the visit ended, Nathan and the Queen addressed the crowd, unveiled plans for a joint research base, a place to share knowledge with the galaxy, murmurs of approval, support rippling through the mass. You've opened a door, the Queen said as they toured the proposed facility grounds. Our cooperation is the keystone of the future. Nathan nodded, watching the twin suns set on the horizon. Let this be the foundation of unity, he said, echoed by the crowd. Shuttle doors closed as Nathan left. Silent space ahead, but connections resonated within from the planet behind. Unimaginable alliance forged in peace. A new unified galaxy marked this historic visit. The Queen's farewell in his ears, her message clear. The galaxy was changing at the bond of human and Vorid, built on mutual understanding and respect. Admiral Nathan Pierce stood on the far side of his office next to the big window. Still wearing his dress uniform, he looked out at planet Earth and the clouds far below him. The room had almost nothing in it, just a metal desk, a few chairs, and shelves stuffed with medals and stuff from his years in space. The space station hummed quietly, circling Earth. He picked this spot to say he was stepping down. No big crowds to deal with, no requests for appearances. Just him, his aide Sienna, and the leaders that mattered. "Admiral," Sienna said from the doorway. She held a tablet. "They're ready for you in the conference room." Nathan turned from the window, his lined face serious. He nodded and followed her out, ready for this last meeting. In the conference room, the leaders of different species sat in a big circle around a round table. In the center, a hologram showed live planets. The leaders looked weary but determined. Some had grey hair like Nathan, some looked younger. Nathan cleared his throat. "I'm not here as your commander anymore. I'm just an advisor now, another builder of the peace we've made." He met each pair of eyes around the room. "I didn't walk this path alone. With every step, humanity rose up until we stood equal with you all." Murmurs of agreement went around. They leaned forward, listening close. "I see a future where Earth still leads in our values. Peace, working together, moving forward." His voice stayed strong, echoing a bit off the walls. "Even as I step back, I know our institutions stay strong. Our leaders will keep our vision alive." He paused to let that sink in. "This isn't about battle cries, it's our promise of unity and strength, standing tall against anything bad out there." Nathan put his hands on the cool table. "That promise endures, even as I enjoy our hard work. We've planted seeds of real peace." Nods and gestures agreed with his words. Sienna touched his arm gently. "The youth cadets have a farewell ready in the hangar bay." Nathan followed her out, crews snapping to attention as he passed. Boots clicked, alien clothes swished, all eyes on him. The bay doors opened. Neat rows of young cadets from all over stood straight, saluting him with precision as he walked the line. Their eyes tracked him. Each salute seemed a silent vow to keep the peace. With a last salute, Nathan stepped back. "This is the real test. Your duty to each other, the Concord, the galaxy. Carry it with honor." He turned and walked away slowly, leaving them with the ship hum and their quiet determination. Nathan Pierce had set the stage for humanity with his legacy in careful hands.